Our next section is the short stories. So we have new short stories. So it's actually very useful in that we are going to use the type of question, because we can't use actually a past paper as it stands. So this is a very good thing to do, because this is what you can do with any past paper, is take the type of question and apply it to what you're studying. Right, so look at the instructions. Please won't you put on the timer? So we're told questions are set on the following short stories. Remember, there will be two, so there will be two short stories. The first one says, read the following extracts from the two short stories, answer the questions set on each, watch the mark allocation. Both extracts 5.1 and 5.2. So you'd get an extract. Right. Description from column A that matches a name in column B. So how do you prepare for this? Let us say you take your first short story, which is Forbidden Love by Cantember. So what I suggest you do is you take down 4 characters, write them down, and write down 4 descriptions for yourself, so that you're saying, okay, if I had to mix and match, and if you've got a study group, even better, however many people in your study group, maybe they take a different short story each, you write down the characters, and you do the matching. I think this works. I'm not sure if it would work for The Wind and a Boy, because there really are only 2 main characters, but most of the other stories you'll be able to find that. So just take your book and do that for yourself. So characters' names in this column and a description, what they do, or their job, or something that they do in the story. Right, refer to whatever. What does this tell us about somebody's state of mind? So what have we said about state of mind questions? This is how somebody is feeling at that moment in that extract. So how do I prepare for this? Once again, you take your short story book. So let's stick with Forbidden Love for the moment. You open your book anywhere you like, and you read something. So let's just open it at random. We have, your sister Louisa is afraid because of this thing that might tear her away from you. So you stop. Who's speaking? It's Mike. What's he feeling at that point? Now, I've chosen actually quite a difficult line because we're just opening at random, but that's fine. So you say, what's he feeling? He's feeling compassionate towards the family, towards everybody. And he's trying to explain, if you like, to Dora how her sister's feeling. He's trying to make her understand. So how's he feeling at that moment? A little confused, but compassionate, sympathetic, empathetic towards Dora's family and what they're struggling through. So that's the kind of thing you do for yourself, right? You just open it. And again, just go to any story, find any line, and practice that kind of question on every single story. What are these lines? So make sure you choose absolutely specific lines. Tell us about the characters, choose the character, state of mind. And then you've got to give reasons. So you look at the story, you explain how the character's feeling at that point and why. Right, how do we answer figure of speech questions? Remember, you use I, D, E. I is identify. That will be for the 1 mark, for the A part of the question. Then the B part of the question is the D and the E. Describe and explain. And you explain why it is effective in that extract. So as you are reading the stories, as you are preparing for the stories, say to yourself, I need to find one simile, one metaphor, one example of personification. Those are the three obvious ones. When we come to poetry, we'll talk more about the alliteration and the assonance, but you are looking for the examples. Then you'll write them down and you'll explain why it's effective in that extract or in that line. Right, now this one is more difficult to prepare for. All I can say here is to say why something is false means that you have to know the texts really well. You need to reread those texts. Now, I don't know what it's like with you, but I find that 3 readings of a short story, by the end of the 3rd reading, I'm beginning to feel quite confident. By the 4th, 5th, 6th reading, I'm feeling, no, hang on a second, I can deal with this. I know the story. You might have a much better memory than I do, a much better ability to get all the little details. I need those 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 readings, but that's what I know about myself. So say to yourself, how well do I know the story? How well do I know the smaller details? If somebody said to me, why is something false? Would I be able to answer it? And so maybe again with your class or your study group, ask your friends to write a false statement about each of the stories and then see how well you can answer it. Now this one is an interesting one. How does something affect somebody's relationship? What I find when students are discussing relationship is they often look at one side only. But a relationship is 2 or more people. So let us say, how does Mike's being beaten, let's not say up, beaten up is casual, beaten or assaulted is more formal English. How does Mike's assault or the assault on Mike affect the relationship between any of the other characters? But I think possibly what we should do is rather take Salome. I think that would be better. How does the assault on Mike affect Salome's relationship with the Randolph family? So you need to look at 2 sides. So you need to say, well, she has been keeping herself separate from the family, but she is now angry and I don't think she's vengeful, but she's certainly determined that the truth will come out. How does it affect the family? Well, of course, it is shattering to the family. But you need to say, look at the different figures within the family. Especially look at the mother. What is the mother's response? She says, I have a grandchild. I want to see my grandchild. So instead of pushing the families further apart, I mean, we're not sure what the father's going to do after this, but the mother certainly is going to be drawn much closer to Louisa because now she knows that there is a child there. Or you could say, how does Mike's being assaulted affect Salome's relationship with Davy? That up until then, she has respected him and honored his plea to her not to tell everybody. And she's now determined that they will know. So it changes everything. Again, how do you prepare for this? You take any extract and say, take the character, Salome, Louisa, Davy, the teacher. What does this extract reveal about that particular character? It's really easy to prepare for that one. And then substantiate your answers, give your reasons. So that's not a difficult one to do. Now, this is easy in that you just need to make a statement. So referring to the short story is an admirable character. We saw things like noble with Macbeth. So let us say Davy is an admirable character. Discuss your view. No. Salome is an admirable character. Yes. And then remember what you want is you want 3 bullets. So if we say, why is Salome admirable? Because for me, she's incredibly brave. And she's brave enough to keep, so that would be my point. She's brave enough to keep silent when she respects Davy and wants to do what he asks, but it's really hard. She's had this child for 3 years. She's bringing up this child alone. So that's another brave. So hang on. She's brave, she's silent, and she's brave. And then discuss. To bring up a child alone, to keep quiet, not to expose the father. I can actually say so much. It's a bit too much. So P-E-A. And I'm making too many points. So in fact, I should hold myself back because otherwise I'm getting too much and I'm not being neat and structured enough. But just take it as an admirable character, is a noble character, is a despicable character. What do you think about Evangeline? Is Evangeline to be condemned because she leaves at the last minute? Just take any character and set out that question for yourself. And there's always a second extract. So there's going to be an and. So there'll be a second extract. So maybe we would look at the James Joyce short story maybe. Describe the setting. Remember, setting is time and place. So where and when does this take place? And your time can be just before X happens. And the place is where. Then, what is? It's just a what question. So just make sure that you look up all the words, all the vocabulary, that you understand the meanings of sentences and paragraphs. Take a sentence and ask yourself, do I understand all the words? It really is, it might be tedious, it might take a lot of time. Explain why. Same thing. Why do things happen? So when you're revising the stories, write down maybe 3 things that happen that you think are important in the story. I've got 5. And then why does this happen? Why does this happen? Why does this happen? Why is Mike beaten up? Why does Evangeline not go on the ship at the end? Why is Friedman killed? Whatever it is. Then we've got the multiple choice. Remember, just important that you write 5.2.3 and you choose A, B, C, or D. You must practice irony. So obviously the Canned Temper story gives us a wonderful irony that you have a sister and a brother who have a relationship with a sister and a brother. And neither, well, one sister knows what's happening with her brother to some extent, but the others don't know. And then they find it. So the irony, if you like, in Davy's beating up Mike, when he's had exactly the same situation. Was in the same situation. So there are lots of lovely ironies there. Then remember a what question, state 2 points. This is where you bullet. So state what characteristics are shown or state what happens as a result of, you say this and this. 2 points, bullet it so that it's nice and clear for the marker. Tone. You must practice tone questions. Remember, tone is a feeling. So you'd say this kind of tone. So, but my mother, Mike, I can't understand her silence. What is the tone? Perplexed, frustrated, confused. These words go together. Frustrated is a separate idea. Then you know what's coming next. You've immediately got why this tone, and you begin. Dora would be frustrated because. And why do I want you to use this? Because the reason, the link, must be clear. Perplexed and confused might create a slightly different answer. Dora is confused because. Do you understand? If I say, I am confused about why somebody doesn't do something, means I don't really understand what is happening, what are they thinking? Whereas if I'm frustrated, I see the situation differently and want them to do something different from what they're doing. Do you get that? So if I say I'm confused about it, I'm saying I don't understand you. If I say I'm frustrated, I'm saying I understand the situation and I want to shake you because you don't do something different. So your answers are going to come out slightly different. That's why once you've got a frustrated tone, a word here plus tone, you say so-and-so would be frustrated because, to make sure that you keep that focus. As I've said, lots of candidates lose focus. Then one of the themes is, so now you're going to have to decide on the themes of the story. And you're going to have to say a theme is racism, and then discuss the theme. And remember, it's 3 marks for that. And then the final question of each subsection of the paper is refer to something as a whole, and then you're going to make a statement. So take a story and make a statement. So think about a story like rejection. Obviously, a major theme is rejection, so you could use that quite easily for your theme question. But if we make a statement as a whole that wives are not respected, or a wife is not respected, let's make it singular. A wife is not respected, discuss your view. And so make a statement, and then you're going to practice that with your PEA. You're going to say, yes, I agree, a wife is not respected because she is seen as replaceable almost. And then my evidence, and then my discussion. Or a wife is respected, whatever, because of evidence and analysis. So to prepare for the short stories, the usual, read your stories, know them really well, vocab, what goes on, characters' names, spelling, all of those things. And then take the questions in the past paper and apply them to your story. And just make sure that you develop those questions for yourself. It's a really, really good study technique. And I would recommend that across the whole paper. If you're doing Cry the Beloved Country or My Children, My Africa, you take those questions and you practice them against other extracts and see how well you do. Because as you can see, there are typical questions that are coming up again and again if you look back over the last 3 years of what the examiners are setting. And that is a way that you can then feel really prepared for the short stories.